Hello, my name's Scott and welcome to the Living History School. Today we'll be talking about natural pigments. These are pigments that you can find in the various rocks and clays and muds out in the wild. And today I'm going to show you a red pigment that I found in a little creek here. And I use these pigments for all kinds of things, from dyeing baskets to, not baskets, but arrow shafts and handles for things, or whatever you want to use some pigment for. And I'll reach down right here into the creek here and show you. This is a red pigment here. One of the most common forms of pigments you can find is just basically types of mudstones of various hues, from light tans to almost reds. But you also got to be careful, because some of these harder stones could be cinnabar, and cinnabar just contains mercury. Aboriginal people, or Native American people, used to mine cinnabar, as well as Europeans would mine this. But this stone right here is very similar to cinnabar, but it's not. This is a red pigment here. I'll smash it up in my hand here, and you can take a look. So what I do is I take this back and I use a little mortar and pestle, and I grind this up, and I make pigments for dyeing things. So people would use this on their faces for ceremonial purposes and other things. So I'll gather a little bit more here in the creek. You can see down in here there's quite a few different pieces. Here's some more here. So I'm just going to pick up some, and we're going to take it back to the cabin, and we're gonna grind up some pigment, just to show you how you can make different forms of pigments for dyeing things. While we're talking about pigments and dyes, I'd like to show you another plant type of pigment or dye. This one's Oregon grape. Oregon grape is of course the state plant of Oregon, and Oregon grape does get berries on it in the springtime that kind of look like grapes, and they are edible. But what's unique about this plant is the bark. The inner bark, when you scrape off the outer bark and you expose the inner bark, there's a kind of a bright yellow. And the Indians, the Chinook Indian people, called this kakawik stick, or kakawik tipsu plant. Kakawik means basically like brass colored. And when the fur traders arrived, and they would bring brass kettles and thimbles and things to trade with the Indians, we could call that kakawik chinkamin, or the brass colored metal. So this is their kind of name for brass. But what's really neat is you can use this inner skin for dyeing. It's a yellow, kind of a yellowish brassy colored dye, and you could dye basket materials and other things. And here's a kind of a close-up of what the leaf looks like. So maybe in a future video we could actually make some, take this and make some dye with it. But I just wanted to go over some simple pigments and dyes today. Oregon grape was also, besides being the state plant, was also one of the first plants recorded in the Northwest, or in the Oregon Territory, by Lewis and Clark. If you look in Captain Lewis's journal from the winter of 1805, you can see several drawings of this new plant. This was the first time Europeans had recorded this plant here in the Northwest, about 1805, when they wintered over here in Oregon at Fort Clatsop, which they made on the Oregon coast, which is about 90 to 100 miles from here. So here's our pigment that we gathered out of the creek, and I just basically took it on a flat rock and smashed it up and added a little water to it. What you can do is combine this with some animal fat, and it's a nice bright red, kind of a red ochre color. So thank you for joining me on the Living History School today. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit about natural pigments and dyes. Thank you.